Welcome YouTubers to another episode in my Grammar Hero series. In today's video, we're going to take a look at how to solve multiple step inequalities, which is a topic that has a very high likelihood of appearing in the mathematics knowledge subtest of the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Just to recap, I've been talking about inequalities this entire week, and one thing I want to mention again is that solving inequalities is very similar to solving equations. The key difference is that whereas you have equal signs in equations, you make use of one or four inequality signs to solve inequalities. And in case you forgot, those are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Again, another difference between solving inequalities and equations is how you graph their solutions. Whereas you graph the solution of an equation on a coordinate plane, you simply graph the solution of an inequality on a number line. And more specifically, you use open and closed circles for different inequality signs. For less than and greater than, use an open circle, as you may recall. And for less than and greater than are equal to. For less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, you use a closed circle. Similarly, another difference is that inequalities have some rules regarding multiplication and division when you have negative numbers. That is, when you divide or multiply across the inequality sign by a negative number, that's going to prompt you to change the direction of the inequality sign. Okay? Before we get started with today's video, I quickly want to mention that this video is going to be a good review of concepts that are going to appear in the arithmetic reasoning section of the ASVAB as well, insofar as we're going to have to work with long division today. And similarly, we're also going to have to make use of the order of operations for several of these problems. In case you haven't seen that in a long time, the order of operations tells you the order in which you work out problems. First, you start with parentheses, then you look for exponents to work on. Then you do multiplication and division from left to right. And finally, you do addition and subtraction from left to right. So all that said, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Starting with number 6. Number 6, we can see right here, it's negative 190 less than 4h minus 10 plus 6h. So on the ASVAB, you're going to have some scratch paper that you can write on. So let's go ahead and work this one off to the side. Again, whenever you get complex problems where you're going to have multiple steps to solve the problem, it's always a good idea to work the problem off to the side. When I used to take tests, I used to try to do everything in my head, and that's a good way to make small mistakes, even if you can do good mental math. So we're going to go ahead and work out all these steps for all these problems off to the side. All right. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, solving inequalities is very similar to solving equations in that you want to get one variable to one side of the inequality sign and everything else to the other side. So in this case, we can see we have the variable h. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to skip any steps as I do these problems, is I'm going to add 10 to both sides, which will leave me with this, negative 190 plus 10, which would be negative 180, less than 4h plus 6h. Again, we can combine 4h and 6h since those are like terms, so let's go ahead and do that as our next step. 4h plus 6h is going to be 10h. And again, we're trying to get h by itself, so let's divide both sides by 10. That crosses out, leaving us with just h on this side. Negative 180 divided by 10. We can cross out these zeros, which leaves us with negative 18 divided by 1. Anything divided by 1 is just itself, so we know this is going to be negative 18. In mathematics, it's customary to write your answer with the variable on the left-hand side. So let's go ahead and do that. We have h greater than negative 18. Okay. And in case you forgot how to do negatives divided by positives, let me go ahead and put up the signs chart real quick. It's always a good idea to review that. I don't know how many of you are new viewers or old viewers, but regardless, we can review it real quick. All right, so the signs chart is applicable to both multiplication as well as division. More specifically, it tells you what your product or quotient is going to be. Here's your first term, your second term, and the result. So in this case, we had negative 180, which is negative, divided by positive 10. So we know our result is going to be negative. Okay. In terms of graphing this, h is greater than negative 18. We're going to find negative 18 on the number line. We're going to put an open circle above negative 18. And this says we're looking for all the values on the number line that are greater than negative 18. So that's going to prompt us to draw an arrow to the right. Okay, so that was that one. And let me go ahead and get rid of this so I can have some room for these next few problems. Okay, number 7 says 10x minus 276 is less than 6 times parentheses 5 minus 4x. So we have 10x minus 276 is less than 6 times, let's go up a little bit, 5 minus 4x. Okay, so for this problem, we're going to have to make use of the order of operations. Again, I remember that as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That is, we do what's in parentheses first if possible, exponents, multiplication and division from left to right, as well as addition and subtraction from left to right. In this case, we do have parentheses, 5 minus 4x, but since those are not like terms, I can't do anything with that. So there are no parentheses we can work in. There are no exponents, as you can see in this inequality. That said, we do have multiplication, and the only instance of multiplication we have is right here. So that's going to prompt me as my next step to multiply 6 to 5 as well as 6 to negative 4x. So let's go ahead and just write down this left-hand side of the equation. And let's distribute the 6 accordingly. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times negative 4x is negative 24x. Now at this point, again, we're pretty much done with the order of operations. We're just going to do addition and subtraction as we normally would. But that said, we do have to think about what we're going to do here to make this one very easy to solve. Again, and I'm going to take this one step at a time. I like when my variable is positive. In this case, the variable's x. So what I'm going to do is add 24x to both sides as my next step. And again, we're not going to do multiple things at once since I don't know who's watching this video and how comfortable they are with this algebra. Negative 24x plus 24x crosses out. 10x plus 24x is going to be 34x, and let me write that a little closer to it since we're going to need some room to do some division here in a second. 10x, as I just said, plus 24x is 34x. Again, we still have negative 276 is less than 30. Now again, we're trying to get the variable x by itself on one side, so that's going to prompt me to add 276 to both sides. This is going to cross out, leaving me with 34x on this side, being less than 30 plus 276. Let's work that off to the side. 276 plus 30 6 plus 0 is 6. 7 plus 3 is 10. You have to carry your 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So this is 34x is less than 306. Again, the goal is to get x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 34. This, of course, crosses out, leaving us with x is less than 306 divided by 34. Again, you can treat all fractions as long division by writing them like this. 306 divided by 34. Now we have to figure out what times 34 will get us 306. So let's go ahead and think about what that's going to be. I'm going to say if we did 34 times 10, that would give us 340. If we did 34 times 9, let's see what that would give us. Might be too big. 9 times 4, of course, is 36. Carry your 3. 9 times 3 is 27, 28, 29, 30. So we can see that 34 times 9 is in fact 306, which gives us no remainder. In other words, x is going to be less than 9. In terms of graphing this on the number line, again, since we have just less than, we know we're going to place an open circle over 9, which is right here. And we're looking for all the x values that are less than 9. So that's going to prompt us to draw our arrow to the left. Okay, so that was that one. And again, so I can keep working these out in order, let's make some room for number 8. And again, none of these are too challenging, but this is a good review, as you can see, of inequalities, as well as addition, subtraction, long division, and all those things. All right, let's work on number 8 now. Okay, so number 8 says 5d minus 4 plus 2d is greater than or equal to 87. So let's go ahead and write that over here. We have 5d minus 4 plus 2d is greater than or equal to, and let me get this out of the way, greater than or equal to 87. Right away, we should know we're going to use a closed circle when graphing the solution to this inequality on the number line. But we're not there yet. Again, just like solving an equation, our goal is to get the variable d by itself. So the first thing we're going to do is add 4 to both sides. For negative 4 plus 4 crosses out. That leaves us with 5d plus 2d on this side. Of course, that's greater than or equal to 87 plus 4, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. Okay, let's combine these like terms. 2d plus 5d is going to be 7d. Again, that's greater than or equal to 91. So again, we're trying to get d by itself. So the next step is to divide both sides by 7. That crosses out, leaving you with d is greater than or equal to 91 divided by 7. Again, on the ASVAB, you're probably not going to be allowed to leave answers in fraction form. So in light of that, we're going to have to do some long division to solve this one. Again, we have 91 divided by 7. Again, all fractions can be regarded as long division by writing them as such. Now the question is, how many times does 7 go into 9 without going over? That's 1 time. 7 times 1 is 7, so we're going to subtract that from 9. 9 minus 7 is 2. Drop down this 1. Now the question is, how many times does 7 go into 21? That's 3 times. 7 times 3, as we should know, is 21, so we can see there's going to be no remainder. So in other words, d is greater than or equal to 13. In terms of graphing this on the number line, again, we're going to place a closed circle above 13. And what this says is we're looking for all the values of D that are greater than or equal to 13. So we're going to draw a line with the arrow going to the right to represent our solution. All right, number 9, and let's get rid of some. 9 says 11c minus 270 is greater than 5 times 6 minus 3c minus 4c. So let's go ahead and copy this down accurately so we don't make any mistakes. Again, this is greater than 5. Let's move up a little bit so that's not in the way. 5 times 6 minus 3c minus 4c. We should tell right away that we're going to have to use the order of operations to get started with this one. Again, as we scan through this inequality, we're looking for parentheses. We do see some parentheses, but since 6 and 3c are not like terms, we can't do anything with that. So there are no parentheses we can work on at the moment. As we can see, there's no exponents, but we do see some multiplication. Namely, right here, we can distribute this 5 to the 6 as well as negative 3c. So again, in this video, I'm not going to skip any steps. So let's go ahead and just copy down what's on this side of the equation first. Okay, now that we're at the part where we're doing multiplication, let's work that out. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times negative 3c is negative 15c. And then we're left with negative 4c hanging off at the end there. Let's go ahead and combine like terms on this side of the equation. As we can see, we have negative 15c and negative 4c. So again, let's just copy down this left side of the equation without doing anything just yet. Again, that's greater than 30. And here we have, as you can see, negative 15c minus 4c. That's going to be negative 19c. Now we have our variable c on both sides of the equations and our whole numbers on both sides of the equations. Again, we want to rearrange this equation such that we have c on one side and everything else on the other side of the inequality. I think I just said equation. Again, these are so similar that a lot of people make the mistake of interchanging those two words. So that's my bad there. Let's go ahead and, as our next step, add 19c to both sides. It's going to cross out, and that's going to leave us with 11c plus 19c is going to be 30c minus 270. It's going to be greater than 30. Again, we're trying to get c by itself, so let's go ahead and add 270 to both sides. This is going to cross out. That's going to leave us with 30c on this side of the inequality is greater than 30 plus 270 is going to be 300. Again, to get c by itself, finally, we can divide both sides by 30. That leaves us with c is greater than 300 divided by 30. Again, if we're doing this in our head, we can cross out corresponding zeros. 30 divided by 3, as we should know, is 10. So as we can see, we solved this inequality, and now we just got to plot it on a number line. First and foremost, we can see that we have greater than, so we're going to use an open circle, particularly above the number 10. And what this says is we're looking for all the values that are greater than 10, which means we're going to place an arrow going to the right on the number line. Okay. One more to go, and then we'll be done. Again, a lot of work for these, but it's pretty systematic. There's nothing too tricky to these. So this is a good review of some algebra rules as well as some division, as I keep saying, probably for the third time by now. All right, number 10, we have negative 63 greater than or equal to 2k plus 5k. Again, we know we're going to be using a closed circle when we go to plot this inequality on a number line. Let's go ahead and write this over here. And take your time as you do this so you don't make any mistakes transposing the problem onto your own scratch paper. As you've seen in this video, probably because I've been talking a lot, it's easy to leave a sign wrong or not put a variable somewhere that it needs to be, which can throw your whole problem off. So be mindful of that. Again, we transposed this correctly. We have two like terms, namely 2k and 5k, so we can combine those as our first step. 2k plus 5k is going to be 7k, as less than negative 63. Let's divide both sides by 7. That's going to get rid of this over here, leaving us with just k on this side. Negative 63 divided by 7 is going to be negative 9. And as is customary in mathematics, you want to write this inequality with the variable leading. So we're going to put k here. Again, that's going to be less than or equal to negative 9. In terms of plotting this on the number line, we start by placing a closed circle over negative 9. And again, we're looking for all the values of k that are less than negative 9. So the direction of our arrow is going to go to the left. And let's see. Yep, so that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. Yesterday's video, in which we did the word problems, was pretty challenging. I think this was a good change of pace, and I think most people will be able to follow along pretty closely. You may want to go back and rewatch that video in which I worked on word problems, because the more times you see something, the more likely it might click. But as always, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you like the content I'm posting. Admittedly, some of my videos are a lot better than others, but that's the nature of the beast. As always, leave some feedback in the comment section below. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and cut you loose.